Well, it's a festive time of year, but it also can be stressful and a depressing time of year. And we're going to talk about college students and how they're feeling and how parents can maybe help them out when they come home. From the University of Findlay, we've got the Assistant Director of Counseling Services, Kendra Burmosk. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so pretty much finals are over. Kids are starting to head home. There's a lot of mental health issues that maybe students are dealing and stressed with, right? Tell us about some of the issues you think that students might be bringing home with them.
It's always a stressful time of year when they have finals going on. There's a lot of stress with, getting grades back and finding out how you did. There's stress going home with sometimes with family at the holidays. There's also a lot of times just this time of year brings some sadness and depression and some of those types of things, a lot of grief and loss. So there's a lot of different issues. They don't just stop here at school. They follow people home a lot of times too. So they're dealing with a lot of different things.
I think also during breaks, especially at Christmas time, I know parents have expectations and oh, they're home, let's do this. And I'm sure the students probably have their own set of expectations. So that could be a problem too.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do we know if we are dealing with, having the student come home, right? Are there signs that we should be looking for? I mean, how do we make sure that everyone stays healthy over the Christmas break?
I think it's always good to have a conversation when students get home, maybe about what the expectations are, so that you can kind of talk that through together and see, what is good for both you and your student. I think it's also good to maybe kind of pay attention to symptoms or signs. If people seem to be just overly stressed, sometimes they're sleeping too much or too little, or sometimes people can be really irritable, or oftentimes we see things like people just try to isolate and kind of be by themselves sometimes when we're dealing with things like depression. So just kind of watching out and seeing how people are doing and just having those open talks with them and being able to communicate is, I think, important.
Yeah, because sometimes as a parent, I know you think, oh, they're just growing up, they're changing, they've been out on their own at college, and so maybe that's just the way they want to deal with things, but maybe still be involved a little bit?
Absolutely. I think, I think that it's hard sometimes to initiate those conversations. So, if you can help your student be able to do that, I think that's helpful. And I think that, sometimes people, yes, do want to be alone or have some space, but sometimes I think people just don't know how to start those conversations, or they're afraid that they will upset somebody by having those conversations. So I think it's helpful to just kind of sit down and talk about it.
And if talking about it with, family members isn't good enough, there are so many hotlines, crisis lines, places to reach out, right? And parents should know that their family member can do that also.
Absolutely. There is always the 988 hotline, and there's also the 741-741 text line, and also local numbers and places that people can reach out to as well. So I think, even asking your child if they're doing okay, if they don't want to talk to you, referring them to talk to someone else, or kind of connecting with a counselor. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but just talking in general, I think, is important, and having that conversation.
Yeah, exactly. We want to have a nice holiday season, and making sure that everyone, mental health is healthy during this time of year too.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for giving us some tips and helping us realize what's all going on with a student coming home from college, Kendra.
Thank you.
All right, don't go away. Noon Edition continues in a moment.